We'll open it for questions for Coach M.
I only speak English. Sorry, guys.
Kevin, you noted a couple weeks ago you were going to pitch Egor. What advice, though, did you give him in this process with your tapping into your NBA connections?
Yeah, first of all, I just told him whatever his decision was, we were going to be fully behind him. These types of decisions are so personal, for every guy. So I just shared with them, my experience with guys coming into the league and things that are challenges. I think just as a rookie in general, but also just going through the draft process, I think it's a lot more grueling than people understand with how much mental energy goes into going through all the interviews and the workouts and this and that. So just trying to give them, my experience being on that side of it and try to just give him a little a head start as he kind of goes into the process.
Kevin, where do you go from here with your point guard situation?
Well, one thing that I really tried to do when I took this job was to set up an infrastructure that allows us to, cover a lot of ground in all parts of our program. And so, we essentially have an NBA front office, so to speak, that's been scouting players throughout really since the day we stepped foot here. So, our staff is very well versed. We have a lot of connections all over the country, all over the world as well. And so, we have a good handle, I would say, on who is out there. And so we're relying on the work that we've put in for many months. I don't ever want to make any rash and quick decisions. I think, in today's day and age in college athletics, I think you can get caught up in the kind of the storm that is the portal. So we're trying to just be calculated in the moves that we make, and we feel like we're on a decent path to do that.
There's a first time for everything. Congratulations, this is your first one and done. What did you learn this year as a head coach and a staff to help you do it even better next year and for years to come now that you've been through one?
Yeah. I don't know if I would equate it just to the one and done portion of it, but I think for me, it's just learning the college game relative to where I came from. I think that's where we started to hit strides throughout the year was helping guys like Egor, through the way we attack practice and through the way we attack, our preparation and things that we're emphasizing based on, what we were seeing in the games and how it's officiated and all the things that I probably talked about a lot throughout the course of the year. But, that I think gives us a bit of a head start, going into now and into next season. Just having that understanding of the things that we emphasize, the ones that really help move the needle for us. We kind of I have a better understanding of what those things need to be as we guide it to next season.
Coach, how do you see Yegor's game currently, and how do you see it progressing? How does that translate into the NBA right now?
Yeah, the NBA, it's different in so many areas. I think the things that, well, let me back up. What translates is his feel for the game and his passing. That's what's going to translate right away. And he didn't shoot a great percentage, but he's a good shooter, and he'll be able to get even higher quality looks in the NBA because you've got superstars that you're playing next to that are going to generate wide open shots for you that he'll be able to knock down at a high clip. I definitely believe in that. Now, in terms of what translates, that we talked about the passing. The spacing and the size of the lane, the defensive 3 seconds, and it's a lot less handsy in the NBA. Like, you can't just put your hands on guys when you try to dribble. Like, I was crying all year. I was like, this is not basketball. You can't dribble and have a guy just shoving you with 2 hands the whole time. So, that stuff combined with his instincts and passing will really help him. It was funny. We practiced this year at the 2 different NBA practice facilities, one in Orlando and one in Phoenix. And been out of an NBA gym now for 6 months or whatever, and you forget how big the lane is and how much space there really is on an NBA court. So he'll be able to thrive in that because of not just that, but then there's, you know, 3 or 4 40% three-point shooters around you, you know. So it'll be really fascinating and fun for me to follow it, you know, knowing what he was able to do here in this environment and then seeing how his skill set in that, you know, mega spaced world will look.
Any other questions? Mitch?
Kevin, what does it do for your program to, you know, start to build up a pipeline of guys getting to the NBA and living out that dream and showing that BYU can be a place to get to the league?
Yeah, I think it's you know, it's validation in a lot of ways. You know, there was a thing that went. A few folks sent it to me about my rant about it not being hypothetical. You know, we feel like we offer an environment that can really help young men get to the NBA. You know, and Egor is the first. You know, Richie will probably be a close second in terms of guys we had this year, and I think there's other guys on our team this year that have a chance as well. And then as we build for future years, you know, we'll have a track record that we'll be able to speak on that I think will be really attractive for you know, for players. You know, we've felt it even this year so far in this portal cycle where just being at the Final Four, you know, I got a lot of commentary from different people about our style of play and how much people enjoyed it. And I think guys see that, you know, because of that style of play, you can really, you know, showcase what you can do. And then on our end, we feel like it allows us to win ball games as well. So we're hoping to continue to have those worlds come together.
Are you sure you're not talking Russian? Okay. So you was talking about like the 3-second zone and about the difference in NBA. So what do you think Egor needs to do? What to focus on in order to achieve like maximum success in NBA? Which skills he should be focused on the most?
Yeah, I mean, he's got to continue. You know, he did a great job of being diligent in the weight room, getting stronger. I mean, that's probably going to be the biggest thing for him. Just continue to build up his body so that when he does drive to the basket, he doesn't get knocked off his base, and he's got great balance, which is an area I thought he improved on quite a bit as the season progressed, which I think is why he played better later in the year. I would say that's probably the number one thing. And then he's got to continue to, like I said, I believe in him as a shooter, you know, particularly from three. He's got to continue to, you know, work on his mechanics from that standpoint. And then the last piece is, and this goes for any young player, you know, rookies in the NBA they get picked on defense. No, bring him up here. Let's see if he can guard me. So he'll have his hands full, you know, guarding some of the best players in the world, and that's a big area of growth, not just for Egor, but for any young player going into the NBA.
Thank you.
Coach, this chapter moving forward with AJ coming in, at the Final Four, how many AJ questions were you asked? And I know he'll be in school here later this month, and so it's really the transition from Egor to AJ and the hype that comes with it. How excited are you for it?
I'm excited. You know, you know, you transition from one iteration of your team to the next, you know, every year, but you're getting a talent like him here. I mean, the thing, honestly, that I really think is cool is just hearing how much Egor loves BYU. And, like, when I see AJ, you know, his dad sent me a picture of him talking to Dick Vitale, and he's, like, decked out in BYU gear. You know, he's on all the whatever he got, makes the rounds, and every time I see him, he's wearing a BYU hat. And he just, like, that pride of BYU is, I think, super cool. And then in terms of the basketball piece, I mean, again, he's just an unbelievable talent, and we feel like, you know, given the way that we try to play, and we do try to space the court, you know, really well for these guys, I think he's going to be able to, you know, thrive in that environment even more so than he has to this point. You know, I've seen him play a lot in high school and different, you know, AAU teams and national teams and this and that. You know, we feel like he's really going to be able to thrive and take his game even to another level in our style of play, and I think that for me is where I get the most excited. And like I said before, we're being really calculated about how we put this team together, You know, we got a lot of good players that are coming back from last year's team. You know, I think the continuity piece next to a high-end talent like AJ is going to be critical. And then, you know, Richie's a guy that really put himself on the map in a major way this year. So you're going to have a lot of, you know, talent that's out there on the floor. We're just trying to make sure we put the right pieces around those guys and continue to build on what we've done.
All right, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.